As the gateway to the northeast, Guwahati's economy is largely agrarian, but it's fast finding new frontiers for growth. And to identify where the most promising opportunities lie in a new age Guwahati, we're here at the Leaders of Tomorrow's Springboard. On the show tonight, we have with us Gautam Barua, Director, Indian Institute of Information Technology, Guwahati, and Jahnabi Phookan, Director, JTI Group, former National President, FICCI Ladies Organization, and founder, Lahé Looms.
Surrounded by lush green hills and the mighty Brahmaputra river, Guwahati, Assam's largest city, is a paradise for nature lovers and a thriving business hub for Northeast India. Backed by its strategic location and enhanced infrastructure, Guwahati has geared up for a new phase of growth and is on the cusp of a business transformation.
Professor, I'd love to kick off the conversation with you. And while research estimates, of course, vary, I believe that Guwahati's population is currently upwards of 1 million and is projected to exceed 3 million by the year 2025. In your view, has infrastructure development, has it essentially kept pace with projected population growth?
Every city in India has its problems. So I have not say that everything is hunky-dory in Guwahati. Traffic jams are increasing every day. Fancy new airport that's coming up. So things are moving forward, I think, but there are challenges. Challenges will always remain.
All right. And Jahnabi ma'am, if I could come to you now. Now, of course, I think post-pandemic, Guwahati has done a fabulous job of emerging out of the shadows of tourism and travel, right, which were the hardest hit. And Assam silks have always been legendary. The handicraft business is particularly flourishing. Do you believe that entrepreneurs in these spaces are adequately incentivized, or is there room for a rework when it comes to policy frameworks?
Thank you for that, and congratulations to ET now for coming to a Tier 2 city of Guwahati.
We enjoy it, ma'am.
I'm glad you brought up the handicraft sector, the handloom and handicraft, which is a very essential part of our ecosystem. As you know, in India, we are the largest weavers in the country. Ours is 14 lakhs weavers, and combined with Meghalaya and Nagaland, we have 18 lakhs in a country of 35 lakh weavers. And they stand to count. And this government is taking a lot of incentives to bring this forward and help our industry. When we spoke about the incentives, they took up the latest one from the government. I will give you that name, where they have specifically asked that 31 handloom items are bought by the government at predetermined prices.
Right.
So we cut out the middleman, and the beneficiary, the payment goes directly into the weaver's accounts. So those are very forward-looking plans that he has for the handicrafts, handloom sector. Assam is also the largest producer of all the 4 silks.
Right.
But is very little known about. Our Muga silk, our Eri silk, the Tassar silk, and the Mulberry silk. So now what this government and NEHHDC is looking at, giving a concerted ecosystem where each of these components, the training, the hand-holding through, the design intervention, right from the sericulture point to, from the farm to the fashion, there we are getting to that. And that is something that will encourage our women. So all that has been a strong point, and that will only take us forward. Handloom is an industry well recognized and well on its way. Yeah.
Well, thank you, ma'am, and that's really set the context for us. And, Professor, one figure that certainly took me by surprise is that the state of Assam, I believe, ranks around 17th when it comes to state GDP figures. And it has recently overtaken Chhattisgarh and Chandigarh, for example. And according to the Chief Minister, we are more or less on track to meet, if not beat, the state of Punjab's GDP. Now, do you believe that's realistic, and what is the time horizon within which it seems achievable?
I think it's a bit early to talk about Punjab. Yeah, Chhattisgarh is good. Maybe Odisha. Maybe we can try for Odisha. Okay. We are going forward, but I want to, if you permit me, we must also learn from our, what we could not do, our failures.
Please, sir.
So, in the beginning of this century, there was a lot of hype about IT. Assam, how do we grow? We leapfrog. We just get into the IT sector. We have youth, and we get some companies to come here, and we'll take off. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. At that time, the government was trying very hard to get some of the big IT majors to come and set up a development center. And TCS showed interest. In fact, a 25-acre plot of land near IIT, I was at IIT at that time, was earmarked, and the deal almost went through. Unfortunately, the year was 2008, and global financial crisis hit, and TCS backed out. It was luck or otherwise, but that was the beginning of the end. 2 years later, Narayan Murthy came to Guwahati. There was some meeting, and I was there. And there was some question that why doesn't Infosys come and set up shop here? So Narayan Murthy said, yes, I'll do that, provided 3 things are there. What are the 3 things? This is 2008 or 9, okay? Number 1, reliable and very good internet connectivity, which wasn't there at that time. Second, 5-star hotel, not there at that time. Third, connecting flight from New York to Guwahati, via maybe Bombay or Delhi, but connecting. Not there that time. So he knew them, he knew all 3 were not there, so he put these conditions. But all 3 are there today. Gen AI has come, ChatGPT has come. They are saying that low-level coders are going to be out of jobs. So the call centers are soon going to be no longer there. So things are changed and we have to move accordingly. So when we look forward, I think right now I just want to say this, that putting or thinking that we will get going in the sunrise techs, I think we have to be more realistic. We have to go bottom up.
Professor, thank you so much for sharing that point of view. And if I could just switch gears here from IT to tea. So Assamese tea is a matter of national pride, very frankly. And, I believe that this is the largest tea producing area globally. I think the state of Assam accounts for nearly 80% of the country's total tea production and, a similar figure in terms of the tea export basket. So the figures itself are staggering. Now, are existing policies truly tailoring to their unique needs and pain points? How does this all sort of go down with the tea entrepreneur?
We have been so blessed with this industry that we've had. It's going to be 200 years this year.
Absolutely.
And it's been our largest economic driver. There should have been a lot more have been done with this industry. So today, Assam produces like 700 million kgs annually. It accounts for 52% of India's production. So India is the second largest producer of tea after China. And Assam earns for the country foreign exchange earnings about 3,000 crores. Today we have 1.25 lakh tea workers, and they produce about another 90 million kgs of tea. So Assam plantation has taken a full circle, and this is where we're here today. So with that, that's Assam for you, and this is the state we are in now, the largest employer for us.
Absolutely, ma'am. It's time for a short break, but our coverage of the Leaders of Tomorrow's Springboard in Guwahati, the gateway to the Northeast, continues on the other side. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our continued coverage of the Leaders of Tomorrow's Springboard here in the gateway to the Northeast, Guwahati. Here are all the highlights. Road development is truly the backbone of any and all infrastructural overhaul because, once roads emerge, sanitation, water supply, electricity, health and safety, hospitals, they quickly follow. But given that Guwahati lies on the southern bank, of the Brahmaputra River, do you believe that waterways is where the state needs to place a greater emphasis? Do we need to create national waterways, if you will? And how does Guwahati stand to benefit?
Waterways are a very important, can play a very important role. But there are limitations in the waterways system. Maybe, there's a lot of effort being made for transporting goods through the waterways. One of the issues about this region is that there is a transport bottleneck. It's perceived to, and the famous chicken neck is there, which is some 23 kilometers wide between Bangladesh and Nepal, which separates the northeast from the rest of the country. So efforts to go through Bangladesh, through Myanmar, to the Bay of Bengal, I think the waterways can play a role. However, I think roads are also equally important, and a lot of road network improvements are taking place not only in Guwahati, but all over Assam.
How you would characterize Assam's success with respect to increased employment, right? With respect to bridging that urban-rural divide that we were talking about earlier, right? With respect to truly prioritizing infrastructure development and essentially, at the last bit of it, making education the front and center priority.
Because it's such a unique biodiversity hotspot here. We have 5 GI tags in Assam alone. And in the rest of the Northeast, we have about 25 GI tags in food. So I'll tell you about this the startup that I was associated with.
Sure.
That now they are called the Northeast Farm Food Products. And for the first time, they have been through the, Ministry of Rural Development, have tied up with Assam State Rural Livelihood Mission. They'll be training some 155 lakh women in procuring the food, in packaging, and help themselves. So beyond just selling your turmeric in the roadside, you have a packaged product which you can take advantage of. 40% of our GDP is agrarian.
Right.
So our emphasis has to be on agri-tech, has to be on agribusinesses. And I would like to say that ASDM that you had mentioned is also trying to make note of this. Earlier, the sunrise industries were considered health, beauty, wellness, etc. But now also in training people for infrastructure development, training people in these agribusinesses. So that is happening in a strong way. Guwahati hosts the Indian Guwahati oil refineries. They are one of the largest in the country. It's home to the Guwahati tea auction and are the largest center. So with that and the tea, I spoke about tourism, handloom. Those are the other points we like to make mention of.
Absolutely. And if we were to step outside those sectors, Professor, I think AIMS Guwahati was recently inaugurated by the Honorable Prime Minister. Similarly, IIT Guwahati and IIIT Guwahati have captured international attention as a result of their groundbreaking R&D. What more would you identify as reasons for optimism beyond the two above?
The density of population is very high. There are lots of us here. Okay? and if you discount the hill states, the density goes up even further. So I think, this population needs to be harnessed into the mainstream economic system. Mm-hmm. And that is what the biggest challenge I feel is. And therefore, obviously, education is going to play a big role. There's a huge expansion of higher education in the state, from the state government itself. Mm-hmm. Okay. Large number of engineering colleges. For many, many years, we had just had 2 engineering colleges, or 3 engineering colleges, if you will. Actually, 2. Now, I can't keep count, actually, now. Okay. There are so many of them have come up. So many medical colleges have come up. Again, there were only 2, 3 medical colleges in the state. I think there are at least 8 now, and many more are in the pipeline. So medical, engineering. Then thirdly, as part of the national education policy, colleges are to be given autonomy. And more colleges are being converted into universities. So there is a huge expansion in higher education. And of course, school education countrywide, there's a big push with a lot of funding from the central government. The challenge is, the quality of the education, having quality teachers at the school level, even at the college level. It's, as I said again, it's a chicken and egg problem. So if you come out of that cycle, the quality will improve, the education will improve, the productivity of our huge population will improve, and we will become economically better and better.
All right. Well, I believe that makes for a wonderful note upon which to wrap and open up the floor for question and answer. And I certainly have a few questions of my own. So if I could start with my own, and I'm going to pose my first question to you, Professor. What do you make of the government's commitment to better connect this region with the rest of the country? Because it, at the end of the day, involves not simply improved mobility of goods and services, it involves improved mobility of everyday citizens. Your take, sir.
Connectivity, has improved because today it is not just physical connectivity that is required.
Right.
And, we have digital connectivity, and that has given us, this region, a big boost because digital connectivity now does not need physical boundaries. And so, as I said, 2008-9, internet connection was not good. But today we take it for granted, there's no problem at all. And the mobile network has reached almost every corner of the state. In fact, even in the other hill states of Northeast also, they have gone far and wide. So connectivity to the rest of the world has improved tremendously because of digital connectivity. So lots of things are happening.
All right. And Jahnabi, Professor talked about reaping the rich dividends of this demographic. And I'd love your take on what you believe the government is doing right when it comes to women empowerment, right? And when it comes to youth empowerment in particular.
Assam has a population of 3.6 CR, women about 1.7, men are 1.8. So you definitely can't ignore the women here. And Assam women have always been traditionally, in the Northeast, women have been traditionally very forward and working. And we've not had any Purda system or Ghungat system. We've had no problems on that score at all. And our women have always worked. Behind the door maybe, or not monetized. In another conversation had spoken about in the tourism sector, where we had a MOU with the Ministry of Tourism talking about tourism as a sustainable livelihood for women, you see. But they are the unrecognized, unmonetized component to pull in women from the informal sector into the formal sector in tourism. But in our government now recognizes the need for entrepreneurship and the encouraging the self-help groups of women in a very concerted manner. It's important that the focus is on entrepreneurship, focuses on women, focuses also on the ideal world would be where if we could have our rural and our urban come together and really have that circular economy, which I think this area needs.
All right. Please, sir. Of course.
I just want to add one small thing to this self-help group she mentioned actually. The microfinance sector in this state has been doing very well and catering to self-help groups, particularly of women, groups of women giving small loans through various financial agencies. Unfortunately, because of COVID and because of floods in 2021, and then the elections came, the microfinance sector has taken a big hit. And I thought I'll use this opportunity to point out that I think it is important to revive and to get back the microfinance sector back on its rails, because it has been playing and is going to play a big role in lifting the rural economy.
Well, Professor Barua and Jahnabi, thank you so much for digging deep into your personal and professional journeys and in sharing such a rich range of insights with us. Ladies and gentlemen, huge round of applause once again. I believe it's deeply deserved. Well, that brings our Leaders of Tomorrow's Springboard here in the gateway to the Northeast, Guwahati, to a close. I'm Pooja Jain signing off. We'll see you next time.